Welcome to my channel EduExcel. Today we explore Lala Lajpat Rai's visionary idea of trade and industrial schools, institutions dedicated to blending practical vocational training with academic learning. Rai believed education should empower youth not only with bookish knowledge but with hands-on skills like carpentry, weaving, mechanical trades, and more to make them self-reliant and productive citizens. These schools aim to awaken national pride and social responsibility, preparing students to contribute meaningfully to India's economic growth and independence. Join us as we delve into how Rai's model laid the foundation for modern vocational education and continues to inspire skill development initiatives today. Education in London. There was a time in the history of education in India when Anglo Indian administrators thought that education higher than elementary was no concern of the state and that the latter was not justified in spending a large amount of public revenues on the same. Since then, there had been a great change in the attitude of the government towards education. The pendulum had swung to the side of all educational activity to be subjected to state control. Commenting on the state of education in India under British, Lajpat Rai lamented that the Indian government had not accepted their responsibility for giving free elementary education to the people, nor had they realized that education should be among those matters which ought to form a first charge upon the revenues of the state. In England and other Western countries, however, it was well accepted as the first axiom of good government, and year by year the figures of the parliamentary grant for education had to rise higher and higher. In 1906 to 7, the net total expenditure on education out of the parliamentary vote for England and Wales was 13,167,788 pounds or something about 20 crores in Indian coin. In 1907 to 8, it rose to 13 lakhs 272,624 sterling, and in 1908 to 909 to 13,484,117 sterling pounds, out of which 74,006 etc. over a crore of rupees was spent on secondary schools and pupil teachers, about rupees 75 lakhs on technical institutions, besides between 7 and 8 lakhs on the colleges of science and art. Trade schools. Lajpat Rai's trade schools. Lajpat Rai saw that in England increasing importance was being attached to the organization of day trade schools for boys and girls who were leaving the elementary schools. These schools provided a course extending over 2 or 3 years and were intended to prepare boys and girls for some particular skilled industry. The day work covered a wide field and included courses for students working for their degrees, art classes for training designers, teachers, and skilled craftsmen, pre-apprenticeship instruction for boys entering such trades as engineering, building, silversmithing, book production, cabinet making and cookery, trade instruction for girls in dressmaking, waistcoat making, upholstery, carpet making, millinery, ladies tailoring and photography, and domestic economy classes for girls and young women. Practically all the classes in these schools were assisted by grants from the Board of Education, which amounted annually to upward of rupees 6 lakhs and 75,000. The most important institution was the City and Guilds Finsbury Technical College, which provided a 2-year course for those desirous of entering the mechanical engineering and electrical engineering trades, and a 3-year course for those entering chemical trades. Other schools as coming under this head were the Trades Training School, Great Lichfield Street, and Leather Trade School, Bethnal Green, and South London Technical Art School. Some of the scholarships varying in value from Rs 750 to 752 were tenable at the various polytechnics, technical institutes in the country. In addition to the polytechnics and technical institutes, London possessed a large number of evening schools conducted in the buildings of the council elementary schools. These evening schools were of three kinds, namely free schools, ordinary evening schools, and commercial and science and art centers. In the free schools, instruction was provided in such general subjects as reading, writing, arithmetic, English, history, and geography, illustrated by lantern slides. Classes were also held in vocal music, gymnastics, and physical drill, swimming, first aid, home nursing, cookery, laundry work, millinery, dressmaking, needlework. In some of these schools, an industrial course in technical drawing and workshop arithmetic was taken preparatory to the industrial courses at the technical institutes. Instruction was also given in woodworking, wood carving, and metalwork. In London, Lajpat Rai also came across a network of industrial schools which were intended for the reception of children under 14 years of age who, by reason of their surroundings or of personal moral weakness, were in danger of falling into crimes. They were distinctly preventive and not punitive in their character. These schools were formally established under an act passed in 1866 which described them as being schools in which industrial training is provided and in which children are lodged, clothed, and fed as well as taught. Children must be committed by a magistrate and might be retained until they reach the age of 16 years, after which time the managers had powers of supervision for a further period of 2 years, with power of recall if necessary. Children were, however, usually licensed out at about the age of 15 years. On leaving the schools, boys were usually placed in an occupation or trade for which they had been trained. A large number went to army bands and many other to skilled trades or farm service. Girls were trained in all branches of domestic work and on leaving were usually placed in good situations as servants. Boys and girls were also sent out to Canada under the care of one of the recognized immigration societies which placed them in situations and supervised them until they reached the age of 18. The then after Thereafter, careers of industrial school children were in the great majority of cases satisfactory, and in some instances these children did exceptionally well, attaining such positions as army, masters, officers in the mercantile marine, farmers, managers of shops, skilled mechanics, etc. Out of the 2,096 cases discharged during the 3 year ending 1907, 1,862 were known to be doing well in permanent employment. Day industrial schools were schools in which children were fed, taught, and trained but were not clothed or provided with lodging. They attended schools from 8 am to 6 pm daily, except Sunday, and during this time the routine was similar to that of the residential schools. They could not be retained at the day industrial schools after 14, and when children attained that age, no difficulty was experienced in getting situation for them. The parents were required to contribute what they could afford towards the cost of maintenance of the secondary education. The university education and the technical education were imparted by the council. Thank you for watching. NEP 2020 marks a transformative shift by integrating vocational education with mainstream schooling, aiming to equip youth with practical skills and knowledge for real world success. Trade and industrial schools, inspired by visionary leaders like Lala Lajpat Rai, are now at the forefront of nation building by fostering self reliance, dignity of labor, and social responsibility. Embracing this new era of education means empowering our future generations to thrive and contribute meaningfully to India's growth. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to keep this important conversation going. Together, let's build a skilled and prosperous India.